This week's challenge, we are going to return to the World War II diet. We're going to do our second week eating 1940s era food, meals. We're going to have breakfast, lunch and dinner. I'm going to go through some facts and interesting information. Going to make sure the meals are different from the first week. Just as an example, we've got Lord Walton's root vegetable curry, which is the guy who did the Walton pie in the first week. We're going to do a variation of the Walton pie with different ingredients. We're going to look at some of the cookbooks and some of the recipes from the era. A lot to pack into this week's video. A lot of exciting meals to share with you. I thought I'd start this video like the previous one. Instead of walking around the shops, we'd just have a little look at some of the types of ingredients we're going to be eating this week. This isn't everything which was rationed, so some of these items were rationed. Some of these were available depending on location, and other stuff you could get in limited quantities. We can discuss all that as we go through, but let's just take a quick look at some of the stuff we're going to be eating this week. So the first thing I'm going to look at is some of the meats. So I've got some beef there. I've got a small piece of lamb, which will be for a Sunday roast at the end of the challenge, and a couple of eggs. Now, not all the time were you able to get hold of fresh eggs. Sometimes you use powdered eggs. I was looking up, doing a bit of research, and I didn't realise it was available at the time, and I'm not sure why I didn't think that. But cottage cheese. So cottage cheese is soured milk. So that was used as a cheese replacement. So I've got some cottage cheese for a few of the meals this week. We've got some ham. We've got some cod. We've got a small bit of minced beef. We've got some bacon slices. Dairy wise, I've got cheese. This isn't the quantities I'll be eating this week. This is, like I said, a representation on the table of the ingredients. So I won't be using like all of that bacon, all of that mince, for example. We've got butter. We've got dripping. I will be using margarine for some of the recipes because margarine was used more often than butter because it was cheaper, easier, and you got more for your money on points. So a lot of people turned to margarine when it came to cooking and baking. Got some biscuits. So got some oat crumble biscuits, which is going to be nice this week with some tea. Fruit-wise, I've got some fullers from my allotment. So these are cooking apples, which we're going to stew down this time of year. Availability for foraging, we'd have apples, hedgerow plums, blackberries. Vegetables, we've got cauliflower, cabbage, another little sneak of what's coming up this week. We're going to make some stuffed cabbage, which I'm looking forward to. I've got a swede, some potatoes, some eating apples, some pears. We've got beetroot on the go. We've got some onions, carrots, leeks and parsnips. I haven't got any turnips this week, but I can work around that in the recipes because you modify the recipes based on the ingredients you have to hand. I'm using wholemeal brown bread. The national loaf was a lot grayer in colour and a lot denser. Condiments wise, we've got some English mustard. So I do have the English mustard here, and I do have the Coleman's mustard, English mustard powder, which we can use in the cooking. We're going to see toast quite a lot this week with either dripping. I've got some marmalade and I've got some raspberry jam. And we've got, so in a previous one, I used cracked black pepper, but it was more common to use white pepper, which was ground. So I picked some of that up in the previous World War II week. And we'll use that instead of the cracked black pepper, which I use quite frequently in cooking. There's a representation of some of the stuff we're going to eat. You can already see, and I did benefit from this in the previous week, it's a lot more wholesome whole foods here. We've got a lot of fresh vegetables and fruit. We've got some quality meat. Nothing's really processed. I mean, the jam would be made yourself, but I'm obviously working full time and doing this video, so I have cheated in regards to using shop bought jam, but that again would have been made using sugar allowance and fruit. And then we've got the odd condiment as well, but you know, it's a really varied, wholesome, fresh fruit and veg and non-processed amount of ingredients here. I'm going to stop waffling. I'm going to get all this sorted and put away, and I'm going to join you tomorrow morning for breakfast. I think we might as well start the week off, as we do in most challenges, with a bit of porridge. Right, day one. I'm up early for work on a Monday. What is the time? 5:15. I'm just doing some porridge on the stove for breakfast. I'm going to make some milk up, because if you didn't have fresh milk available, you'd use powdered milk. I've got some powdered milk left over from week one, and it's 4.5 heaped tablespoons of skimmed milk powder to approximately 1 pint of cold water. 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly half, 4.5. So the porridge I've made up with water. Give that milk a stir. So the previous week when I had this, I really wasn't too bothered about the difference in milk. I actually quite like this milk, to be fair. It's quite a good shelf stable one to store as well. So this is September next year. Obviously not so much now that it's opened. That's the milk. Serve up some porridge. So a small serving of porridge. Gonna add a little splash of milk. Now I could add some jam to this, but for my lunch today I'm gonna have a jam sandwich and an apple. So I need to conserve my jam. So I'm just gonna have my porridge as is. But before I have my porridge, I'm gonna weigh myself, because on the previous week I had a lot of comments in the comment section saying, did you lose weight? And I'm not worried about sharing that with you guys. So I'm going to go grab the scales. I'll weigh myself at the beginning of the challenge, and then I'm going to weigh myself at the end. Right, so I've got my socks on because no one wants a close-up of my hobbit feet. Just over 18 stone. One more time just to make sure. Yeah, so 18 stone. Pretty much 18 stone on the nose. That's around about my heavy weight when I've had a couple of bad weeks, which, to be honest, I've just got back from holiday all inclusive and my birthday, and I had a fair few beers and lots of food. So 18 stone, 7 days on this challenge. I don't deviate from this challenge when I'm on a challenge, and there is an element of you guys trusting me. But the only person I'm fooling is myself if I do that anyway. But I do stick to the rules. So just be the food that you see me eating, and then we'll weigh ourselves at the end of the week on the Sunday. Be interesting to see how much I lose, because I normally lose a few pounds anyway. But I'm a bit heavy at the moment because I fluctuate a lot. It's just one of those things where if I eat a lot and drink a lot of beer, then I'll go up. I notice it. I'll get a little bit healthy, it drops down. I'm a bit of a fluctuator. It is something I'm conscious of and I do want to work on. But that's life, innit? Anyway, stop talking about that all morning. I'm going to eat my porridge. I'm going to make my lunch, and I'll share my lunch with you in my van later on today. Got a little bit of milk. Just adds to the porridge, making it a bit creamier. A few people say to add salt to it. I'm not in the mood for that today. So I've just got plain porridge, which I'm more than happy to eat. I've got a reasonable portion, not like my heaped massive bowls I normally have, which is quite excessive anyway. Anyway, see you later on. So I got distracted focusing on the fact that I was weighing myself. Forgot to mention, to go with my porridge this morning, I'm having a cup of tea and I'm saving my tea bag. Now, primarily it was loose leaf tea. I don't have loose leaf tea. I don't even have a teapot, so I can't utilise one of them. I have been looking on charity shops and on Vinted, so I will pick one up for a future week's challenge. But for now, I'm just going to save the tea bags. I'm going to add a splash of milk, and I'm going to allow myself a little bit of sugar just to sweeten it up. So just that amount. In my normal coffees, I have a sweetener, but we're not using sweeteners this week, and I'm switching to tea. So I'm going to enjoy my cup of tea, finish my porridge like I was meant to be doing. Just pulled over for my lunch, and for lunch I've got a jam sandwich and an apple. Just wanted to mention something. Obviously With the small amount of porridge and just having this for lunch, I'm going to be getting hungry this week, much like in the first week. But you will not hear me moaning about being hungry, complaining about not having enough food. What I will be doing is reflecting on the fact that people went through this. This was a real world situation. There were people surviving on this and much less. So I'm going to take this like I did in the first week, and I'm going to treat it as a learning curve. I'm going to treat it as an experience. I'm going to acknowledge what people went through and have an appreciation for it. I'm going to eat my lunch, and then tonight I'm really looking forward to making that Lord Walton's root vegetable curry. Right, back home from work, I've had a quick shower. We're going to get on and make our first evening meal of the week. And we're going to have Lord Walton's root vegetable curry. And this is enough to serve 2 people. So Vicky's going to have this one tonight with me. First of all, we're going to go through the ingredients that we're going to need for this one. So we've got 1 medium carrot, which we're going to dice. Parsnip, which we're going to dice. Half a small swede, or rutabaga, which is going to be diced up. 1 onion chopped. Half a cauliflower. So we're going to take these leaves off, but we're not going to waste them because they can be used, because those are edible as well. But we just want the florets of the cauliflower, so we'll save that. 1 small potato, which we're going to dice. And then other ingredients which we're going to be using are 1 tablespoon of what is wrong with me tonight? 1 tablespoon of rolled oats, which is going to thicken it a bit like the Walton pie. We're going to use some curry powder, some ground ginger. We're going to make a vegetable stock, and we're going to add a little bit of Marmite in for flavouring. I need some dripping as well, and some salt and pepper for seasoning. But the first thing we do is get on and dice these veggies. We've got a nice clean potato, so I'm going to leave the skin on this potato. I'll just cut that little tag end off there. You don't want that bit. But other than that, I'm just going to dice the potato as is. A few comments on the channel saying leave the skin on the potato because you're removing nutrition. So we're just going to dice that up. I'm going to get on and get these veg done, and then I'll get back to you, because otherwise this video is going to end up about 5 hours long with the amount of content I want to share. Right, so I've done the cauliflower, the swede, the parsnip, the potatoes, the onions. I've just got the carrot left, and I thought we could talk about some facts about Lord Walton. So his full name was Frederick James Marcus, the 1st Earl of Walton. He was born on the 23rd of August 1883 in Salford, Lancashire, England. And he died on the 14th of December 1964 in Liverpool. He came from a working class background and worked his way up from shop assistant to chairman of Lewis department stores before entering politics. So his role in World War II, he was appointed Minister of Food in April 1940 by Winston Churchill, and he was tasked with managing Britain's food supply during the rationing and ensuring that there was fair distribution. He became hugely popular with the public because of his fair, practical and cheerful approach to rationing. He introduced the national loaf, a whole meal bread, as a healthier, more filling alternative to white bread. Promoted recipes that use seasonal vegetables, offal and non-ration foods, most famous being the Walton pie, a meatless vegetable pie. We did that in week 1, and this is another one of his creations. Achievements were that he maintained national standards despite severe shortages. Britain's population was often considered healthier during rationing than before or after. He used propaganda effectively, encouraging dig for victory, gardens and home cooking. Became known as the People's Peer due to his popularity. Lord Walton is remembered as a man who kept Britain fed in its darkest hour. His policies helped prevent famine, kept morale high, and provided the rationing could be both fair and nutritionally sound. So this is another one of his recipes, and we've got quite a few which we'll be visiting, if not in this week, but in following weeks as well. I'm going to add a little bit of dripping to the pan. But to the dripping, we're going to add the onions first. Now that the onions have started to soften down, we're going to add in the curry powder. Quite a bit of curry powder. We're going for a tablespoon of curry powder. And an optional spice is half a teaspoon of ginger, ground ginger, but that's only if you had it available. We're going to use it for this one. So that's going to go in like so. And then we're going to stir that around to release the aromas of the curry powder. Stir that for a minute. Right, next we're going to add the rest of the vegetables. So we've got potato, carrot, the swede, parsnip and cauliflower. I may have needed a bigger bowl. Going to mix that around. Definitely underestimated the size of the pan I needed. This recipe is designed for 2 people. So if we were doing for a family of 4, it would have been a whole small swede. It would have been 2 carrots. It would have been a whole cauliflower, small cauliflower, 2 potatoes. So you just basically double the ingredients that we use. We're going to add in some stock. I just want to bring this up to a simmer. And while we're doing that, we're going to add a tiny amount of Marmite flavouring. So that Marmite flavouring is going to just add a bit of a meatier flavour to the whole thing. Now that it's starting to simmer, we've got one final ingredient to add to the mix, which is going to be 1 tablespoon of rolled oats, which will thicken up the sauce. Stir that in. And we're going to let that simmer for 20 to 25 minutes. Right, so it's thickened up, lovely, and I'm just going to serve up. Quite a substantial meal this. It said you could serve with rice if rice was available. It wasn't ration, but it was imported, so it wasn't too common. Look at the amount you get here though. You could also serve this with a thick slice of national loaf. But I can already tell this is going to be more than enough for me and Vic. Probably too much for Vicky, bless her. Right, where's the salt and pepper? So I've got to remember we're using that salt, that pepper, not the cracked black pepper. Going to put a load of salt on top. Nice shake of the pepper. Just going to give it a minute to cool down and then we'll taste test it. Right, I've had a busy day at work. I am hungry. I'm very much looking forward to trying this. And this is a big old plate, so I'm really excited about this. Let's give it a taste. That's seriously tasty. I'm incredibly happy with this. The parsnips are sweet. We've got the cauliflower, which gives you that lovely texture. Big old chunks of potato, carrot. You've got the veggie stock flavour, but the little bit of Marmite I can taste in the background with the curry powder. I've got lashings of white pepper. A little peepee head then. You're fine, John. I'm going to leave that in. Yeah, it's cute. It's got a lovely flavour to it. Really nice, really substantial. I don't need rice with that. I'm not going to have a bit of bread. I'm just going to smash this whole bowl. Enough for me, and I've got enough for Vicky, so I'm going to go grab a bowl and give it to her. And I'll see you back in the morning. Probably going to have a little bit of toast tomorrow morning. Right, I've got a cup of tea on the go this morning. With a little bit of sugar in it. And we're going to have a piece of marmalade toast for breakfast. And I'm using my lovely new bamboo chopping boards, which I got sent from my Amazon wish list. Thank you so much for that. It was a lovely surprise on Sunday when it turned up. I'm going to eat my toast, have my tea and get my butt to work. Just pulled over for my lunch and I've got another on the go lunch of a ham sandwich with some English mustard spread. I've got a pear and I've got a diced chopped up carrot. So that's my lunch for today. When we get to the weekend, I'll be at home, so I'll have a bit of an opportunity to cook a few different things. One of the ones I found in a book I've been looking at this week, because I've been referencing some for the recipes, is a cucumber soup to use up allotment garden grown cucumbers. So I really fancy that, and there's a couple of bakes I want to do. So there's Gypsy creams. I was looking at that last night, so I figured I won't be too hard on myself while I'm working Monday to Friday. I'll give myself easy lunches. Back for day 2's dinner, and I'm going to make something which I was quite surprised with. I don't know why I assumed they didn't have it during the war or in the 1940s, but I'm having sausage, chips and beans. Beans and potatoes are used quite commonly to bulk out and make interesting meals. One thing I did look up was, obviously I've mentioned it before, they did recommend leaving the skin on the potatoes to save from waste and removing the nutrients in the skin. You could just take this, you could peel them for a more authentic 1940s chip, or you can just leave the skin on because it avoids wastage. So I'm just going to cut these up into chip size portion bits. Then we're going to parboil them. The baked beans were rationed under the point system, but they were an essential part of World War II ingredients. Sausages were often unrationed, but their meat quantity tended to be very low as like 30% meat, and they used to be padded out with other ingredients. Some sources suggest a weekly ration of around 4 sausages for an adult male, and again that would vary depending on the size and the quality of the sausage as mentioned. So what we're going to do to replicate 1940 style chips, we are going to cook them in beef dripping. First of all though, we're going to parboil the chips, and then we'll cook them in beef dripping, and then we're going to save the beef dripping from the cooking to use again, because that was an important part of not wasting anything, was using animal fats multiple times within cooking. So I parboiled the chips. I'm just going to drain them off, and then we're going to get them fried with some sausages. Right, I've got the beef dripping in a pan. I'm using it, I'm going to shallow fry the chips, so I might have to do them in portions just because of the amount of fat I've got available. I'm going to get my jar ready as well to save the fat once I finish cooking. I'm also about to have a cup of tea as well. And this is definitely being inverted. Someone pointed out, I did mention it in the last video, but I tend to have the handle sticking out, and now I'm frying with fat, which is something I don't do very often, if I'm honest. I'm not big on frying. I use the air fryer for chips, that's for wedges and stuff, but yeah, can you imagine this being knocked over? Be all sorts of carnage. Right, we'll let them fry off while I make a brew. Onto my second tea bag. I've been reusing the other one. With these tea bags, you can get a good 2 to 3 cuppers out of them before they get too weak. So I'm happy with that, and I'm still using that milk, powdered milk. No sugar in this one, just a cup of tea as it is. And save that one. Because meat was rationed, most meats were rationed quite significantly, I'm making an effort this week to do a meal with meat and a meal without. So tomorrow we're having a cheeky little fried chips and sausage with beans tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to do a lentil and vegetable hot pot. That's going to be some red lentils, onion, carrot. I'm substituting turnips for swede because I just don't have any at the moment. Then we're going to use a bit of stock, some thin potato, sliced potato, dripping, which we're going to reuse this stuff. So that'd be nice to have for tea tomorrow. And then the next day I'm going to alternate it to another meat dish, just so we can work our way through different recipes, but also acknowledge the fact that there wasn't an awful lot of meat around, and it was certainly restricted. I am looking forward to Sunday's roast lamb though. I definitely need more than this second week to go through all the stuff I want to do. I was going through that book, I'll show you, hang on. So if you follow my allotment diaries on a Sunday, you'll know that I picked up a load of books on Vinted. I've just highlighted a few I like to try. So there's a Hard Times omelette there. What else have I got? Gypsy creams, which is what I mentioned earlier. So they're like a biscuit. I've got savoury eggs and bacon. That's going to be a weekend breakfast this week. And then there's the cucumber soup I was on about. So yeah, I mean, just going by that alone in the different recipes, we got weeks worth of content here. I'll quite happily come back to this maybe every other month, and we do a week each time, and then we just improve it, learn more as we go. Right, these ones can come out. Just hold that over the top because I want to drain any of the fat back in. You get a fair volume of chips out of 2 potatoes. Get the last of them in. Right, I'll get back to you when these are done. Go drain off the last of the chips. I think the last time I had beef dripping chips was when I was at my nan's many years ago. While that's doing, we're going to carefully transfer the fat into this jar. I've got 2 sausages. I'll be completely honest with you. Greedy me would have had about 4 or 5 sausages. I looked it up and they said that they would average a couple of sausages depending on the ration. I've got some spare chips there. I'm sure Shia will like them. Not going to have them all. But there's 2 potatoes made into chips. Have a bit of salt. A bit of vinegar. Lovely, crunchy, crispy. Oh, yeah. Honestly, and I'm not just saying it for the sake of this video, but I actually genuinely think that might be one of the tastiest chips I've had in a very long time. Beef dripping for the win. I'm going to get Shia to try one. Now some baked beans with it. Come into the living room because the lighting's not great. I want you to try this chip. So you know I'm doing World War II week. This chip's made with beef dripping. Yeah, that's a good chip though, yeah? Yeah. I think that's one of the best chips I've had in a long time. Very nice. Nice flavour, isn't it? Yeah, good.
Have Rash.
Yeah, I can make a little bowl up.
Cheers.
Yeah, I need to sort the lighting out in here now that it's getting darker earlier. But he loves those chips. He's just had some. I'm going to sit down and have my dinner. I'll see you back in the kitchen for breakfast. Right, so this morning I'm just making my lunch up. It's raining quite hard out there, so it's going to be a bit of a miserable day. I've got quite a nice sandwich to look forward to. I've got beetroot, sliced beetroot and cottage cheese sandwich. I'm going to take an apple and I'm going to let myself have a couple of oat biscuits. And because the weather's so bad, I think I'm going to take a little flask of tea with me as well. Right, I'm going to get this finished and then I'm going to get breakfast, which is going to be porridge. Just heating up my porridge. Just using hot water again. We'll add a splash of milk. I'm probably going to put a little bit of jam in it as well. I've also got a cup of tea on the go. So there's the tea. Oh, I just wanted to show you. The dripping from yesterday. So it's all cooled down now, so it's gone back to a solid, and I put it in a little kilner jar. But that's the leftover fat from frying. That will be used up during the rest of the week. Same trick as day one. Splash of milk. We're going to add a bit of jam. Just a tiny amount of jam. So like when we get home and we make the lentils, use the lentils for dinner. I'm going to get on and stew down some cooking apples. So we've got some variety of things to use. Well, there's breakfast. Sweetened porridge with jam. A nice cup of tea. Gonna eat this, get to work. I'll see you at lunchtime. Just pulled over for my lunch. I've got my beetroot and cottage cheese sandwich, which is really tasty. I probably could have done with putting a bit of salt and pepper in it. Would have enhanced it a bit, because pepper goes really nice with cottage cheese and salt goes really nice with beetroot. Got a couple of oat biscuits and I've got my apple, but I'm going to save that for later on. Gonna get home tonight, see what we can get done time wise. So we're going to have lentils tonight, and then I might even try and make those gypsy creams, but that depends on how much time I've got. If not, we'll just do it on the weekend. But anyway, gonna get on, eat my lunch and get my shift finished. Right, just got in from work. I'm gonna start doing the prep for dinner so that it can be simmering while I have a quick shower. Then we're gonna come back and finish it off. So the start of the lentil vegetable hot pot, this is gonna again serve 2 people. I've substituted turnip for swede. We've got a couple of carrots, an onion, and I've got 85 grams, so about 3 ounces of dried red lentils. I've just given them a rinse. I'll drain them off again in a minute. And a pint of stock. I'm using chicken stock. We do need some potatoes, but we can do that in the second part. First of all, I'm just going to dice all this veg. Right, so I'm just going to simmer all of the vegetables in the stock with the lentils. So the recipe requires we just chuck everything in. We're not even frying off the onions in this recipe. We're just chucking it in as is. Adding in the stock. Actually, I might use the stock to swash out the lentils. Make my life a little bit easier. Right, we're going to simmer that down for 20 to 25 minutes until it's all soft. So we've cooked down the vegetables and the lentils and it's thickened up nicely. And we're going to add that to a casserole dish. Like so. And then we're going to top it with sliced potato. And again, I'm going to leave the skin on. Going to slice it really thin. I'll take off that root bit that can go in the stock box. I'm loving my new chopping boards, by the way. I doubled down on the plastic ones, saying I preferred them. And you know what? I take it back. I'll admit when I'm wrong. These bamboo ones are lovely to cut on. And I quite happily admit when I'm in the wrong. Right, I'm going to place these over the top. I was wondering if 1 potato was going to be enough, but I definitely reckon we've got enough out of this. Just going to place them over the top like that. Like so. So I've placed the potatoes around the top of the dish. And I've just dotted some butter around that, and it's going to go in the oven for 30 minutes. Right, while that hot pot's in the oven, I thought I'd get on and stew some of these apples down. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to peel the apple. I'm going to peel 4 apples and I'm going to core them. Right, with these being fullers, the cores are a bit messed up. That doesn't affect us eating them. So we're going to stew these ones down. So the way we're going to do that is just going to chuck them in a pan. I'm not even sure what variety these cooking apples are, but they are definitely cooking apples. Going to add to that a splash of water, and then we're going to add a bit of sugar. Going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now I'm going to add a bit of cinnamon to the mix. Cinnamon's quite an interesting one because cinnamon and nutmeg were available in Britain during World War II, but they were much harder to get hold of than before the war. So imports were restricted. Most spices had to be brought in from abroad, and wartime shipping was limited and dangerous due to submarine attacks. Essentials like wheats, fats and meat were prioritised over luxuries. There was no ration book coupons for spices. They weren't officially rationed like sugar, butter, they were scarce and sometimes unobtainable. If you found them in the shops, you could buy them, but supplies were irregular. Substitutes were common, so people often used things like mixed spice if they had it, ground ginger, which was more available, or even grated carrot and dried fruit to add sweetness and flavour instead of imported spices. A little bit of facts there for you. Right, let's get this stewing down, and we're nearly ready to check on our hot pot. This should take about 10 to 15 minutes to cook down. Right, so the Gypsy creams will have to wait for the weekend. I'll definitely get them done, I promise. But I just think I was a bit optimistic, thinking I could get everything done this evening after work, because I still have to do lunch boxes and stuff like that for the kids and a bit of housework and stuff, because those of you that follow the channel know that we're a bit of a busy household, and tonight was Vicky's night. She went to uni after work. So yeah, been a busy one. I thought what I'll do is I'll do them on the weekend, but what I'm going to do with this hot pot is, you remember the cabbage leaves which we had left over? Well, I'm just going to chop them up roughly, and then I'm going to add them to a pan with a little bit of that fat, seasoned with salt and pepper, and that's what I'm going to serve that's what I'll be serving the hot pot with. I'll get on and do that. Getting really hungry now, so I'm looking forward to this dinner. Add a bit of pepper. Bit of salt. That'll do, I don't want to overcook it. There's our fried cabbage. And then we got the hot pot, which looks incredible. Let's serve up half of this. There we have the vegetable hot pot with fried cabbage, a bit more pepper. Give that a minute to cool down, and in the meantime I'm gonna transfer the stewed apple. But there's the stewed apple. Stick the lid on loosely. Stewed apple ready to go. That will be for some puddings and stuff in the next few days. In fact, an oat biscuit would go quite nice with that. Right, enough waffling. Let's give this a try. This smells incredible. That is incredibly tasty, full of flavour. I really like the fried cauliflower. Another really tasty meal this week. This one I'll be coming back to outside of the challenge. Genuinely love that one. That's really good. Right, I'm going to enjoy my dinner. I'll see you in the morning for breakfast. Today's sandwich, in our week of different kinds of 1940s sandwiches, is going to be some sardines and tomato sauce. So it was originally going to be pilchards. I couldn't actually get any pilchards in Asda's. They often stock them, they just didn't have them when I went in. We could add a little bit of vinegar, or we can add a little bit of mustard, and I'm enjoying the mustard this week. So we're going to have mustard, mash that in. Meanwhile, I've got a bit of toast on the go and my tea brewing. So we make this sandwich. We've got a nice fish filling for today. Bit of milk, and we've got a little bit of margarine. On toast. I'll do us a breakfast. I've got my sandwich made up. I've just chucked in a pear in the bag, and we're good to go for the day. Just pulled over for my lunch, and I've got the sardines in tomato. I've never thought to add mustard to it, so I'm just going to give it a try. That really enhances the flavour. Quite impressed with that. I might start doing that when I have sardine sandwiches anyway. Big fan of tin fish, so this is a nice lunch, and I've got a pear for later on. And then tonight I'm going to get back and decide what we're having for dinner. Right, this evening I'm going to do minced beef with potatoes. So I've got some potatoes on the boil. I'm going to have enough left over to use for a few recipes towards the end of the week. I'm going to be using some minced beef. I've got 1 chopped onion. I've got 1 diced carrot. I've got some beef stock on the go. Got some oats. I just need to grab some flour. And I think we're good to go. So I'm just melting down some beef dripping in a pan. And we're going to add some onions to that. Now that the onions are softening down, we're going to add the minced beef. So I'm using roughly 4 ounces of beef. Now I'm just frying the mince down until it's browned. Now that the mince is browned off, we're going to stir in the flour, which is half a teaspoon, the oats, which is 1 ounce, or roughly 28 grams, the beef stock, which is half a pint, and the carrots are going to go in as well. Stir that all in. Going to give that a bit of salt and pepper. And we're going to simmer that down for 20 minutes. Right, so the minced beef is reduced down. It's got like a nice thick sauce to it. That's going to be going on top of our potatoes. So I'm just going to drain them and mash them. Going to add a little bit of margarine to that mashed potato. Mash that through. I won't mash that as smooth as I can. Serve that up. 2 scoops of mash. That's 2 people again. Nearly every recipe I'm doing this week is for 2 people. And then you put the beef and mince over the top. And there we go. We've got minced beef with mashed potatoes. It smells really beefy and tasty. Let's give it a go. That's stunning. That's really tasty, really hearty filling. Been another wet, rainy day today. So this is a really welcome big dinner. Using up some beef mince, carrots and onions. Thicken the sauce with the oats and the flour. Really happy with this. I set aside a few potatoes. I pulled them out before they were mashed. They were to the point of mashing, so they're just boiled potatoes, and we're going to be using them up in other recipes. I'll get my dinner. I'll see you in the morning for breakfast. Right, breakfast this morning is a bowl of porridge made with water, and I'm going to add in a big old spoon of our stewed apples we made, just to sweeten it up. I'm not adding milk this time. I think the stewed apples will be enough. Save on the milk. Give it a try. Really tasty. Actually tastes a bit like apple pie filling. Got my tea, got my porridge. I'll see you in the van for lunch later. Just pulled over for lunch. Today I've got a jam sandwich, a cut up carrot and a pear for later on. This is the last lunch where I'm eating at work on the go, so I'm looking forward to experimenting with a few different cooked lunches on Saturday and Sunday. So it should mix things up a little bit. But yeah, that's the last lunch of the working week done. Right, you can probably hear in the background I'm pre-cooking the soup for the next 2 days because I fancy doing a potato and leek soup. What we're going to do is make the mockfish cakes. This is quite a simple recipe. So I'm just going to chuck into this bowl a cup of leftover mashed potato. And then to that we're going to add half a cup of cheese, 1 diced onion, and as a binding agent we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of cooked, and this is leftover, porridge, oatmeal. It says oatmeal, but it's porridge. And we're going to mix this all together. So I'm assuming that the oatmeal is just to help with the binding process, but the mashed potatoes should bind most of it together anyway. Just going to mix that all in. We're going to season with a pinch of salt and some pepper. Give that one final mix together. Then we're going to make them into 6 fish cakes shaped. So we're going to roll them into a ball and then flatten them out. So there's our 6 fish cakes ready to go, and we've got some leftover breadcrumbs. So we're using a couple of stale pieces of bread, and we're using the leftover stale bread, and we made it into breadcrumbs, and we're just going to coat each of the fish cakes. Right, then we're going to add a bit of dripping to a pan. You could use margarine, butter or dripping, whatever's available. I'm just using up that dripping from the chips we had in the week. And then we're just going to stick the fish cakes into the pan. Fry them till they're golden. And then we'll flip them, and then we'll fry them on the other side. While that's doing, I'm going to have a quick tidy up. I'm just serving up our mock fish cakes. And these are being served with a salad of beetroot, lettuce and some garden tomatoes. And a little bit of ketchup, which would be a treat because it was very limited availability. Give this fish cake a try. Mock fish cake, I should say. Keep saying fish cake, but it's a mock fish cake. Really tasty. Tastes more like cheesecakes to me. Like the chip shop, cheese and onion, battered fish cakes things you can get. Not making much sense the way I'm talking, am I? But I think a lot of you will know what I mean when I say the cheese fritters, I think they're called. It tastes a bit like that, but it's really tasty, something a bit different. And nice to have it as a summery kind of meal with the beetroot salad. They're really tasty. I'm going to finish these off. Tomorrow morning we're going to have a cooked breakfast, and I've pre-made the soup, which definitely makes life a lot easier. Right, so we're at home having slightly different breakfast to the ones we've had this week. We're using up some cold boiled potatoes, the ones we saved from the other evening meal, and we're going to grate some carrot. It's going to be like fried with some black pepper. We'll just grate the carrot. So I'll take a few potatoes, probably 4 of them. Right, so you're going to chuck in the potato into the dripping alongside the carrot. Bit of an odd breakfast this one, but quite interested to try it. I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper. I've actually got some homegrown tomatoes I want to use up, so I'm going to chuck some of them in as well. Just add them in. Right, I'm going to serve that up with a slice of bread with some margarine. So there's our fried carrot and leftover potato mash with some tomatoes and a bit of bread with margarine. Let's give it a little try. Really tasty. Wouldn't have thought to have had something like that for breakfast, but it definitely works. I mean, people have bubble and squeak. I tend to have that for lunch, but yeah, very good. Very tasty. I'm going to have that with my cup of tea. Right, so I'm going to make a soup, which I'm hoping is going to last us for the last 2 days for lunch of the challenge, and that gives me a bit more time to do the gypsy creams So I'm going to do a World War II style potato and leek soup. For that we're going to do 3 potatoes, a small onion, we've got 2 leeks, going to add to that some vegetable stock, some powdered milk. Yeah, and then that's going to be for the Saturday and Sunday's lunchtime meal. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to peel and dice the potatoes. We're going to trim and slice the leeks, and I'm just going to dice up the onion. Right, first thing we're going to do is going to put a little bit of butter in the pan. And then we're going to add the leeks and the onion, which we've diced up and sliced. Diced and sliced. I'm going to stir them until they've softened. Right, now they've softened down, we're going to add the potato. So that's the 3 medium potatoes diced up. We'll stir them through for a minute. Next we're going to add in the pint of stock. And then we're going to simmer it for 20 to 25 minutes until the potatoes are soft. I've had that going for 20-25 minutes. I'm quite happy with the way the potatoes are softened. So next we're just going to mash them with a masher. During wartime, households rarely had blenders. So for a more of a rustic style soup, we're just going to mash them roughly with our hand masher. And next we're going to stir in the powdered milk. And then we're going to add some seasoning. Like so. And on serving, as an optional extra, we can add a little bit of fresh parsley to this. But I can set that to the side now, because that's going to be used for lunches. Right, for lunch we've got the potato soup that we made up ready. I've added a little bit of fresh parsley, and we've got a slice of bread with some margarine. Let's give this soup a taste test. I did taste it last night, but I think soup tastes better the next day anyway. That's a really tasty soup. I do love a potato and leek soup. This one, even though it's a wartime recipe, would not be out of place with a modern day potato and leek soup. The milk adds the extra creaminess. I quite like the texture of it where I've mashed it, but you still got bits of leek and potato. Really enjoying this. I'm really happy that I've got this tomorrow for lunch as well. That's almost like a World War II batch cooking situation going on. Right, for dinner we're going to do some stuffed cabbage. So the first thing we're going to do is get the cabbage. It just recommends Savoy cabbage. We're going to remove the outer cabbage leaf carefully and blanch them in boiling water for 2 to 3 minutes so that they become pliable. Then we're going to drain them off. We're going to chop and fry an onion. And then once we've done that, we're going to work with some bacon, some cheese, some parsley and a load of oatmeal. That's going to be our main stuffing mix for them. So first things first, let's get some water on the boil. Right, so while we've got the pan of water heating up so that we can blanch our cabbage leaves. I've got a few big ones. This is actually a bit of a small cabbage, but we'll see. I've not made something like this before anyway, so this is all trial and error. Now, we've used a lot of beef dripping, so I'm going to switch up to using a little bit of margarine. I've said previously that margarine is used. Should I put a light on? It's got dark in it. Is that better? I need to get better lighting. I definitely need to get off my butt, get better lighting and sort out my mic, although it has been doing okay so far in this video. But anyway, waffling on. I've not made these before, so I'm going to try these cabbages. I'm going to put some margarine in the pan, heat that down, and we're going to chuck in the onions to start with. With this recipe, it says you can use cheese, bacon or both if you're lucky. Well, I'm feeling lucky today, so I've decided we're going to have a bit of both in this one. So it says to stir in the bacon or the mince meat or any meat cuttings you've got left with the cheese at the same time as the oatmeal. I'm wondering though if I fry the bacon first with the onions. I'm going to do that. First of all, we're going to get the onions on the go. With the bacon, let's just do it. So they crisp up. Cook's prerogative on this one. So that can go there. We can get that softening down. Right, so while the onions are cooking, just going to chuck in these leaves for a couple of minutes. Right, next we're going to make the parcels. I'm going to do it in the pan. In the tray it's going to be cooked in. Let's see how we get on with this. I don't want to overload it. And I also want to work out how I'm going to wrap it. So I'm wondering if that's enough for that one. So we go 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, 4. And then place it down. How's that looking? Does that look right to you? A bit trickier as these get smaller. Next one. Maybe overdid it. I've got a habit of doing that when I make burritos and stuff like that. It's a really bad habit. Maybe it's a greedy habit. I'm going to take some of that out. So you go 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, and then over the top. So these are kind of blanched like they wanted you to do it, but they're still malleable enough. That's what I'm trying to say, is they're still strong enough to be manipulated, but at the same time they're not tearing. I know what I mean. No one else does, but I know what I mean. Sky, come on in please, it's raining. That dog will just sit out in the rain. Good girl. It's been raining on and off all day. It's been raining on and off all week, to be fair. Then we're just going to add a little bit of the vegetable liquid over the top in the pan just to keep them moist. And then these are going to get baked for 30 minutes. Right, so I've got the stuffed cabbage out of the oven. They look like this, quite nice little parcels. They've got like a rich roasted cabbage smell to them. And then I've got some boiled potatoes. And I'm going to add a little bit of gravy to this. Lumpy gravy, but I don't care because I'm hungry. Let's have a look inside one of these parcels, shall we? You hear the washing machine going in the background. Sorry about that. I've got to catch up on washing. There we go. That's what the stuffing mix looks like with the cabbage. It's actually quite tasty. Quite like cabbage which has been baked. Not sure if I've had baked cabbage before. And that stuffing mix, it is literally a stuffing mix with the oats and the bacon and the onion. Really tasty. You could have a bit of mustard with that if I wanted to, but that will certainly see me through to breakfast. I'm going to eat this, then I'm going to stick the kettle on, and then I'm going to put my feet up for a bit. Right, this morning for the last breakfast, I'm going to reference the book, which I'm going to try and do more in future weeks. The Victory Cookbook, the one I showed you earlier, by Marguerite Patton. And we're going to do that savoury egg with bacon. So it says to heat 25 grams of margarine in the pan and then add 50 grams, I don't have that much, but spring onions, 2 ounces or 50 grams of finely chopped cooking bacon, which we've got going on there, 4 dried eggs or use fresh eggs, beat with 6 tablespoons of milk, pour into the pan, add a little salt and pepper, and then cook gently until the eggs have set, and then stir occasionally. So it's almost like an omelette. So we're going to do that. But the thing which I found intriguing is it says to allow it to become cold. So we're going to add the milk to the eggs, beat them through. In the meantime, we get the margarine on the go. So there's been a couple of things this week which I'm not going to get done just due to time restraints. One of them was to go to the museum and get the sweets, which was one of the plans for the week, but I can do that in week 3. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these weeks because I thoroughly enjoyed doing them. So for me, it's not a massive deal. Just add it to the stuff we're going to get done in following weeks. Right, so we're going to add in the bacon and the spring onions. When it says savoury bacon and egg, it basically is a bacon and egg. It's just basically a bacon omelette, isn't it? Stir them around, cook that off. Right, so I've turned it down a bit, so it should stop frying so aggressively. And we're just going to add the egg and milk mixture. So it says to add salt and pepper, so we do that now. Got a technique for turning this over without trying to flip it. So I'm going to go like that, turn it that way. Guys, that was brilliant. Probably didn't do it as good as I could have done, but from your advice to use that in the previous video, quite happy with that. That worked, didn't it? It saves me from trying to mess it up by trying to flip it myself. Really happy with that. Thank you guys for the advice. Right, I'm going to follow the instructions and leave this to cool down. Right, so I'm going to cut this down in half. That's going to go to my daughter, and this is going to be breakfast. Let's give it a try. It's basically a bacon spring onion omelette, isn't it? How many times have I said that? There we go. Perfect. That's a really delicious breakfast. I love the spring onions in it. I might start putting spring onions in my omelettes more often. Right, this afternoon for lunch, we're going to do the Sunday roast, which I'm looking forward to doing. And then this evening, we're going to use up the soup, which would be our evening supper. And that should give me enough time to get the Gypsy creams done. And then we're going to do a review. Then we're going to do a review of the week and share some ideas, plans for what we're going to do going forwards. So we're going to make some Gypsy creams now as a treat. We need 2 cups of oats, 1 cup of plain flour, half a cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, 2 ounces or 57 grams of margarine, the same 2 ounces or 57 grams of lard, 1 tablespoon of syrup. I'm using maple syrup because that's all I have in, and 1 tablespoon of water. Let's get on and get these made. So we're going to mix the dry ingredients, which is going to be the flour, oats and sugar. So we're going to melt the fat, the margarine, syrup, and it's important that when we're heating this up, we're not heating it till boiling. So we're going to do the tablespoon of syrup and the tablespoon of water. While that's doing, I've just realised I forgot to add the 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate soda. So I get that mixed in. We've got the fat, the margarine, the water, the maple syrup, all the liquids, all heated up so it becomes forms a liquid, and we didn't bring it to boiling, so it's just on the verge of hitting boiling. And then we're going to mix that through with the dry ingredients until it forms a stiff consistency. I'm going to go ahead and get my hands into the mix. Now we're going to take the mixture, which is definitely a stiff consistency. We're going to make them into little hazelnut sized balls, like so. This makes roughly 20, so we know we've kind of got the right size amount of balls if we make it to close to 20 with the mixture. So it says makes about 20, and I've made 19, so I'm happy with that. I'm not going to try and squidge a bit off of each. I'm just going to leave it like that, and then we're going to press them down and then put them in the oven to bake. There we go, out the oven and cooled down. We have the Gypsy creams. I left them in for 15 minutes in the end. 10 minutes wasn't enough for them. Let's have a look at them inside. There we go. And let's give them a taste test. Really tasty. They've got a kind of oat crumble kind of textured taste to them. A bit like the shop bought ones the kids are always having. You see I've got a jar full of them here. Got that really nice flavour to them. So it says on here you can sandwich them together with a filling of butter icing flavoured according to taste, so chocolate and orange, vanilla, a little dried milk and syrup helps to stretch the filling out. We're going to have these as they are. I'm going to have these with a cup of tea. So I'm just gearing up for Sunday roast. Some potatoes that I'm parboiling on the stove. And then I've got my veg ready to go. So I've got some cabbage which I'll cook in the potato water. And then we'll use that water to make our gravy just to get the added nutrients out of it. I've got a parsnip and I've got some carrots and I'm going to roast them. And I've got a small piece of lamb, which would be enough for 2 people. Now, you could pack this out with some oat stuffing. I've had enough of oat stuffing from yesterday with that cabbage. So we're just going to have the meat with the veg and the roast potatoes. First things first, I'm going to get this fried, browned off, and then we're going to stick it in the oven. While I'm filming, I thought I'd weigh myself by the end of the week. There we go, so 17.7. So I've lost a few pounds, but it has only been 6.5 days. So I will take that. We're going to sear that lamb before we stick it in the oven. And I'll use some of that fat in with the potatoes. We'll stick that meat in there. I've got some beef dripping which I've heated up. I'm going to add some of that lamb fat in there as well. This can go in the oven. Be careful with this because it's already hot. Going to drain off the potatoes. Start serving up Sunday lunch. It's miserable. The dog and the cat have decided that they're going to share a bed together. Sky's got her eye on some lamb. Those two are chilling together. The weather's awful. A roast dinner is definitely the right thing to have today. I've plated up a load of cabbage because vegetables would have been the bulk of the meal. We've got the parsnips which have roasted. We've got the roasted carrots. Just going to grab the potatoes out the oven. Should have crisped up by now. Yeah, perfect. It's got 4 lovely roast potatoes because again potatoes would have bulked the meal out. And then the lamb. We'll have 3 bits of the lamb and say 3 for Vicky's dinner. We'll add some gravy. I've made it really thick. It's not gloopy. It's just super thick today. Like treacle. I'm devastated to find out that I've got no mint sauce. But there we go. We've got a lamb roast with some lovely roast potatoes. Let's have a little look. That's how you want your roasties. Crispy on the outside, soft in the inside. Bit of extra gravy and cabbage with that one. Just like the chips, roast potatoes and dripping, next level. Let's try the lamb. Delicious. Go for some carrot and parsnip at the same time. Brilliant. Delicious meal to finish the end of the week. I say that. I do have soup, which we're, because obviously we're having Sunday lunch at lunchtime, late lunch. So we do have a soup to finish off as our supper this evening. So we'll have that, and then that's us done for this week. Right, so I'm still really full from my Sunday lunch, but I'm going to have some more of this soup, finish off the soup as a late evening meal. I don't need any bread with it or anything else. I'm content with what I've had today. Gained so much from this second week, just like in week one. It's taught me a lot. I'm getting better at using whole foods, more natural based veg, fruit, meat, everything. It's a lot more whole foods. It's a lot more natural foods. There's so little processed. It's good that I've lost some weight. What is that? So is it 12 pounds to a stone? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, nearly 5. Yeah, about 5 pounds, which is good going for 6 days. I had weight to spare anyway, let's face it. Said that in the first video. I'm a big guy and it's just one of them things. But I am trying to be healthier. This channel is all about my journey to budgeting, being more frugal and less wasteful with food, learning new cooking skills. And this World War II thing's just opened up so many ideas. It's inspired me to grow my own food like I'm doing down the allotment, and just in general be better at cooking and being more frugal and less wasteful. I'm just going to call my dog in because she's gone back outside in the rain. Sky, come on in, please. Oh, that dog. Bless her heart. Just go in their bed, please, darling, because it's peeing it down out there. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. Missed out on going to Milestone Museum to get the sweet ration, but there will be other times, there will be other weeks, because I've enjoyed this so much and I'm gaining so much from it and the experience. And I've got so many cookbooks here, like the Victory cookbook, where I want to work my way through so many recipes. There's going to be more weeks to come. As long as you guys are still enjoying it and you don't get bored, I'm happy to do more weeks. I was thinking maybe every 6 weeks I could do one, because it gives me time in between to do other challenges. And obviously with the kids going back to school and Vicky going back to work and university and me taking the brunt of the housework, so I do all the cooking and cleaning while she's studying because I wanted to focus on that. Yeah, it's just, if I can do a week-long challenge and then the following week do a challenge using an ingredient or a batch cook, so the chili con carne 7 ways or the tin potatoes, I'm going to alternate between them, and then we do World War II every 6 or so weeks. I'm going to stop waffling at the end of this video. I just wanted to stop and say thank you so much for everyone who supports this channel. If you want to support me even further, there's multiple ways you can do that. You can hit that hype button on this video if it's within 7 days of being released. That helps it with the algorithm. Hit the like button, jump in the comments, let me know what meals you liked, what meals you want to see me do more of. I've got a Discord, and in that Discord there's a really great community building up where people share their World War II rations, they share their own challenges, budgets, pictures of their pets, and just, yeah, gardening, allotment and everything. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in a future video. Bye bye.